I'm your host, Gypsy Kim, and today on this episode of Tragic Turns, I'll be discussing a heartbreaking and tragic incident that took place in the Sierra National Forest involving the deaths of a whole entire family and their pet. This case has garnered significant attention due to the mysterious nature of their deaths, as well as the ensuing investigation, which ultimately revealed the powerful forces of extreme heat, dehydration, and human vulnerability to the wilderness. As we explore this case today, we're going to take a deeper look at the circumstances surrounding their final moments, the lessons that we can learn from their experience, along with the emotional toll that this has taken on their family and their community. Through this story, I hope to shed light on not only the tragic events that took place, but also on the importance of preparedness, safety, and the unpredictable dangers of nature. Jonathan Gerrish, age 45, was a software engineer with a successful career at Snapchat. Originally from the United Kingdom, Gerrish had moved to the United States a few years prior to these events, where he established a professional career in the tech industry. His work at Snapchat placed him in a fast-paced, high-demand environment, but he and his wife, Ellen Chung, chose a different lifestyle once they started their family. John and Ellen had been living in Mariposa County in California, which was a picturesque rural area near Yosemite National Park, and they had made their home here for several years. They reportedly moved to this area seeking a quieter, more relaxed lifestyle for themselves and their child. Their daughter's name was Aurelia, but she also had a nickname which was Miju, and they just wanted to be away from the hustle and bustle of city living. The couple was drawn to the natural beauty of the area and the opportunity to raise their child in a more tranquil environment, surrounded by forests, mountains, and just nature in general. Although John had been living in the United States for quite a while, he maintained close ties to his family back in the UK. A lot of his colleagues from Snapchat, his friends, and his family agreed that he could be described as kind, thoughtful, and a person who had a special passion for both technology and the outdoors. Jonathan's wife, Ellen Chung, was 30 years old at the time, and those who knew her described her as very caring, loving, and a passionate person. At the time, she was pursuing a graduate degree in family therapy, aiming to become a licensed family and marriage therapist. This indicates her strong interest in helping others and a deep commitment to supporting families, likely reflecting on her nature as a nurturing person. Clearly, her career choice shows that she's the kind of person who's very compassionate and empathetic. She's really interested in helping people to navigate their personal relationships, the challenges that they face, and emotional issues, which likely required a high emotional intelligence, as well as a lot of understanding. Those who knew Ellen well reported that she had a very supportive network of friends, and she was really close to her family. So we've established that both Ellen and John are extremely family-oriented people, and they had a very strong desire to raise their child Miju in a peaceful, nature-filled environment. The people who knew them make a point of saying that they really valued quality time with each other, and they put a lot of emphasis on the importance of their relationships with other people, as well as with their child. They took parenting really seriously. I just want to highlight real quick their daughter, whose name was Aurelia, and you'll hear me calling her Miju throughout this video because that's how the family addressed her. She was only a year old, and she was described as a very cherished child. She was full of joy and life. Although there's not that much deep information about her because she was only a year old, we can infer a couple of things from the context of what her family said about her. Miju was loved deeply as both of her parents were committed to giving her a very good childhood, with a particular emphasis on exposing her to nature and connecting her to nature with the love of the outdoors. This was one of their conscious goals with her, in raising her in a calm environment away from the fast-paced nature of urban life. The meaning of her name, Aurelia, comes from a Latin word which means golden, which makes me think that her parents really saw her as a precious and radiant addition to their lives. Her nickname, which was like the family name that they called her by, was Miju, and the origins of this name is actually Korean. And this name has various meanings depending on the Hanja or the Chinese characters that coincide with the syllables. So one possible meaning of this name would be precious jewel, beautiful jewel, or it could also mean graceful pearl. But basically, it means precious and beautiful. It's a name that's often given to little girls who their parents hope will grow up to be very dainty, graceful, beautiful beings. The couple's close-knit lifestyle was really centered around Miju, and this family's commitment to surrounding their lives with more nature, along with John Gerrish's background in tech, really made this couple stand out to their friends and family as a unique family. So what happened to this family? On August 16, 2021, the family consisting of 45-year-old Jonathan Gerrish, his wife 30-year-old Ellen Chung, their daughter 1-year-old Miju, and their family dog, Oski, embarked on a hike through the Heights Cove Trail and Savage Lundy Trail with plans for a short scenic walk. Both of these trails could be found at the Sierra National Forest, which is located in Central California, in the western foothills and slopes of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. It spans portions of Fresno, Madera, and Mariposa counties. The forest is situated to the south of Yosemite National Park and to the north of Kings Canyon National Park, making it a popular area for outdoor recreation and a gateway to these iconic parks. They begin their hike on the Heights Cove Trail very early in the morning. It was a 2.2-mile path at an elevation of 1,930 feet, where temperatures were in the mid-70s early in the morning when they started their hike. They were carrying the baby in a backpack-style baby carrier. As they moved on to the more challenging Savage Lundy Trail, they encountered deeper terrain and temperatures started soaring to around 108 degrees Fahrenheit due to the lack of shade and high elevation. At approximately noon, the situation began to deteriorate rapidly. The family was struggling with the extreme heat and a lack of water supply. John attempted to reach out for help multiple times, sending text messages, at least 6 of them, and trying to make phone calls within a 27-minute period, all of which failed due to poor cell reception in the area. There was one text that was sent out at 11:56 around noon, and it read, "Can you help us? On Savage Lundy Trail, heading back to Heights Cove Trail. No water, overheating with baby." That just gives me chills to read. The messages were sent to people that were close to the family, but I don't know if it was a family member or a friend that these messages were supposed to be getting sent to. And it appears that the Gerrish family didn't try to contact emergency services directly, possibly due to the lack of cell service in this remote area they were in. So at this point, the family has an 85-ounce water container with them, but there were no other water supplies or filtration systems that were found at the scene. And an 85-ounce water container is roughly 2.5 liters of water. That's about the size of a large soda bottle or a big bottle of water that you should be able to use for a day out on a hike. It's supposed to be enough to keep you hydrated for a few hours, but on a hot, strenuous hike like the one that these guys were on, it just wouldn't be enough to sustain them in the extreme levels of heat. So it's suggested that they just simply ran out of water while they were on this hike. So some people were aware that the family was going to go out on this hike, and it was supposed to be like a day trip. They were supposed to come back within a few hours, but their family's nanny came to their house and realized that they weren't back yet. So it's evening now, they should have been home, and she's starting to get worried. At this point, she reported them missing. The Mariposa County Sheriff's Office initiated a search on the evening of August 16th. Search teams, including ground searchers, helicopters, they scoured the area, but due to the remote terrain and the dense vegetation, the search was difficult and very slow. I was actually stunned to hear how quickly the search teams were mobilized, just because usually when adults go missing, you always hear these stories that the police don't want to look for them because they think that they ran away on their own, or they're not really missing, or they need to be gone longer in order for them to actually do something about it. So I was really shocked to hear how quickly the police took this serious. but it might have been because they were supposed to be going on a hike, obviously, and it was super hot that day and they had a child with them. So that could have played a role in why everything moved as fast as it did. But I'm glad that they did move quickly, because that's what we all hope when you hear about these kind of cases, is that the police are going to take it very serious right away, instead of trying to convince you that you're imagining things and this person just ran away with, a boyfriend or something and they're going to come back soon. You know what I mean? You know how these things go. After hours of searching, the bodies of Jonathan, the baby Miju, and their dog Oski were found on August 17th in a remote area of the Savage Lundy Trail. They were discovered downhill from a steep incline at an elevation of 1,930 feet. Jonathan was found lying on the ground near a steep incline, with baby Miju's body found nearby, indicating that they likely succumbed to the heat in close proximity to one another. The condition of Miju's body suggested that she was likely the first to succumb to the extreme heat and dehydration. It's suspected that John may have stayed behind to care for Miju, while Ellen attempted to go further in search of help. The dog wasn't found far from the bodies of John and Miju, which indicates that Oski likely succumbed to the same extreme conditions. The family's lack of water and the high temperatures likely affected the dog just as severely as it did the human beings. After initially locating the bodies of John, Miju, and Oski, the search continued for Ellen Chung's body, which was found on the upside of a hill, approximately 13 feet above the rest of the family. Authorities concluded that she might have been trying to climb up that hill and search for help after realizing the dire situation that her family was in. After months of investigation, authorities took time to rule out all of the possible reasons why this family might have been found dead in this area. There weren't any obvious signs of struggle, injury, or trauma to their bodies. They were even examined for lightning strikes, and that wasn't the cause of their death. Ultimately, authorities concluded that there were no weapons used, no chemicals or poisons were found inside of them, but FBI got a hold of John's phone, and in checking the contents of it, it shed a little bit of light on the family's last moments. Between 10:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. on August 15th, the family took at least 17 photos over 4 hours. They captured images of the trail, the river, and obviously the family. The final picture was a screenshot of their location on a trail app, which showed the family's proximity near a really dangerous incline of the Savage Lundy Trail. It don't sit right with me that Savage is in the name of this trail. It sounds dangerous. Despite this family's desperate attempt to reach help by sending the messages and phone calls, it's very obvious that they became overwhelmed by the extreme heat and dehydration before they could get themselves out of harm's way. FBI and the local authorities also ruled out possible causes of death, including exposure to algal blooms, carbon monoxide poisoning, and even drug use. And obviously there were no reports of foul play. The investigation into their deaths sparked an outpouring of rumors and speculation from people online, and especially true crime enthusiasts. Does that mean me? But many of these theories were baseless, prompting responses from family friends who urged others to pray for peace instead of spreading assumptions. Mariposa County Sheriff Jeremy Breeze praised the investigation team's efforts in bringing closure to this case. He noted that the findings helped answer lingering questions for the family, providing some peace amidst this tragedy. Here are some of the alternative theories that gained attention, along with the facts that some people used to interpret or support these conclusions. The toxic water theory. Some netizens speculated that the family may have been poisoned by toxic algal blooms in the river water, which can be deadly if ingested. The facts that they interpreted included that the family was seen near the Merced River, where they likely drank water and cooled off. Some believed the river could have contained toxic blue-green algae, which can produce harmful toxins. These can cause symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and even organ damage if it's consumed. But there's a counterpoint to this theory, which is that the official autopsy and toxicological reports did not find any evidence of algal toxins in the family's bodies. The cause of death was proven to be hyperthermia, not hypothermia, and dehydration. So this theory was ruled out by the authorities due to lack of evidence. Carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide poisoning. Another theory that circulated involved the possibility of carbon monoxide or dioxide poisoning, perhaps from a nearby wildfire or from other sources of gases in the air. And this theory was based on the Sierra National Forest having experienced wildfires in the past. Some people were suggesting that the family may have been exposed to toxic gases while they were hiking in such a remote area. The family's location was near the river, but the steep terrain and heat could have caused them to become disoriented or overwhelmed. The counterpoint for this theory was that investigations did not find any indication that the family was exposed to any dangerous gases. At the time of their deaths, the area they were in didn't have any ongoing wildfires, and it just didn't make sense that they would have been exposed to carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide at the time. Again, there was no evidence to support what people were saying with this theory, so that was kind of just brushed off. Next, we have the foul play theory. Some speculated that the family might have been the victims of a crime, possibly murder, suggesting that someone could have harmed or forced them into a dangerous situation. The facts people were using to back this up was that some netizens were questioning why 5 phone calls and 6 text messages were made by the family, but none of which reached 911. And that led to speculation that they might have been in a desperate struggle. But I mean, who wouldn't be struggling if they're stuck in the middle of the woods with a baby and they're thirsty and hot and like basically just falling apart, like just drained of all of their energy? I'd be struggling in that situation. Of course, I'm going to be frantically trying to call whoever's going to answer my phone calls. The fact that the family's dog was also found deceased led some to speculate that this could indicate something sinister, as dogs are often protective of their owners. But the counterpoint to this whole theory was that authorities very quickly ruled out foul play. The family's phone didn't show evidence of any criminal activity. The text message that was sent by John at 11:56 mentioning overheating and a lack of water indicated they were in a life-threatening survival situation, not the target of a crime. Additionally, no signs of struggle or trauma were found on the bodies. So the outcome here was that the theory was again rejected because there was just no evidence of foul play. Illegal drug or alcohol use. Some theories suggested that the family members might have been under the influence of some sort of illegal substances, which could have impaired their ability to make sound decisions in the moment. And people based that on the early stages of the investigation, where some people speculated that the family may have been using illicit substances, and that had to explain their poor decision making, like hiking without enough water or proper preparation. They were basically like, the only thing that could make sense for why somebody would go out here totally unprepared is they must have been high. The family's young age and lifestyle were cited as reasons that some believed that they might have been more prone to taking risks, such as hiking high. But the counterpoint for this was that the autopsy and the official toxicology reports showed no evidence of any alcohol or any other substances, intoxicants, found in the parents' bodies. In fact, investigators felt like the reason why they made such poor choices on this hike had to do more with them being influenced by a combination of overconfidence and under-preparation rather than impaired judgment due to some kind of intoxicant. Again, since there were no substances found in their bodies that didn't belong there, this whole theory got thrown out the window by the authorities. This next theory is the heat stroke and overexertion due to a lack of preparation. Some people pointed out that the family made poor choices in terms of preparation, and that their deaths were a tragic consequence of heat stroke due to overexertion and insufficient water supply. This theory does actually align with the official report, but it was sometimes presented in a more judgmental light. Like, it wasn't just like this freak situation that happened. People looked at it like this was totally preventable, bruh. So the family began their hike at mid-morning in relatively mild temperatures, but as they ascended to higher elevations, temperatures drastically rose to like 108 degrees Fahrenheit. The family had only one 85-ounce container of water with them, which was very insufficient for extreme conditions, especially traveling with a child and a dog. And the failed Phone call attempts indicated they realized the dire nature of their situation but were completely unable to escape or get assistance in time. So there's not really a counterpoint for this theory because it does line up with the official report, which found hyperthermia and dehydration to be the primary causes of death. However, some netizens criticized this family for not bringing more water or realizing the danger earlier. So this is the official explanation, and most theories regarding heat stroke are considered plausible but often accompanied by general criticism of the family's lack of preparation. We do have another theory about the family being caught off guard by their environment. Some survival experts suggested that the family was simply unprepared and caught off guard by the extreme environmental conditions that they encountered, and that they made last-minute decisions that ultimately led to their demise. The facts that were interpreted to back this theory up is the suggestion that the family may have realized the severity of their situation much too late, and in their efforts to protect their daughter, the parents likely tried to carry her up the steep incline, ultimately leading to even more of their exhaustion. The failure to call 911 and their repeated attempts to reach help were seen as a sign of panic or poor decision-making in the face of a mounting crisis. It looked like they didn't try to reach out to anyone until much later into their hike. So this theory seems to align with the official findings as well, that they were overwhelmed by the heat and poor planning. But netizens often added additional layers of conjecture, such as family dynamics or perceived recklessness. For example, some speculate that John, being a Brit, may not have understood just how deadly hot it can get in some American regions. So this is kind of interesting. Let's circle back to these last two theories concerning their lack of preparation and being taken off guard by the environment that they found themselves in. Given that Jonathan Gerrish was originally from the UK, it's very possible that he just didn't anticipate the severity of the conditions that he and his family would face on the Savage Lundy Trail in the Sierra National Forest. His prior hiking experience might have been influenced by the relatively milder conditions that he was used to back in England. Here are some factors that could have contributed to his oversight. Milder conditions in England. In the UK, most hiking trails are located in wooded, hilly areas with more moderate temperatures. Even in the peak summer months, UK hikers are accustomed to relatively cooler temperatures and shaded trails, which provide some relief from the sun. British hikers are generally not accustomed to the extreme heat or dryness that can occur in places like California's Sierra Nevada mountains, where temperatures can soar above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, especially at higher elevations with very little shade. Lack of preparation for extreme heat. Jonathan's experience may have led him to underestimate the dangerous effects of extreme heat on hiking, especially at high altitudes. While hiking in the UK often involves navigating hills and valleys, the level of physical exertion needed to handle steep mountain trails at high altitudes in a desert-like environment could be much more intense than anything that he had encountered back at home. In areas like the Sierra National Forest, hikers often face harsh conditions, including intense heat during the summer months. This, combined with high elevation, which can lead to dehydration more quickly, would have been a major challenge even for somebody who's really experienced in hiking. False sense of security. Jonathan Gerrish, being familiar with hiking in England, may have misjudged the intensity of the environment that they were about to encounter. It's possible he thought the hike would be relatively easy, especially with his experience in hiking and familiarity with natural landscapes. The lack of preparation for the extreme heat, for example, not bringing enough water with them or taking sufficient breaks so that they could recuperate, could have been a significant factor in this tragedy. Furthermore, high-altitude hikes like those in the Sierra National Forest require special precautions for hydration and sun protection, which might not have been necessary in the areas where John had previously been hiking. So let's compare the UK and California hiking conditions a little bit more closely so we can really understand John's possible thought process when he decided that they should go on this trip. Terrain and environment. In the UK, hiking typically involves rolling hills, woodlands, and lower altitudes. The weather is usually mild and provides natural shelter from the sun, which makes hiking relatively safe even during hot summer months. In contrast, California's Sierra Nevada mountains. That is so hard to say. I had to say that like 30 times. What a tongue twister. But anyways, the mountains have a rugged terrain, very high altitudes, and intense sun exposure, especially in the summer. The lack of shade combined with the dry air and high temperatures can cause rapid dehydration and heat exhaustion if hikers aren't fully prepared. Temperature differences. While heat waves in the UK may occasionally push temperatures above 30 degrees Celsius, which is 86 degrees Fahrenheit, the intensity and duration of the heat in areas like the Sierra National Forest are far more extreme. In such regions, temperatures often exceed 40 degrees Celsius, which is like 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And when hiking at higher altitudes, the temperature differences between shaded and sun-exposed areas can be drastic, causing the body to overheat much quicker. So could Jonathan Gerrish have underestimated the potential danger that he was taking his family into? Absolutely yes. It's very plausible that John Gerrish, due to his experience hiking in the UK, may have underestimated the risks of heat stroke and dehydration in such extreme heat in this environment. The milder conditions in England, combined with his prior hiking experience in more temperate climates, might have led him to believe that he could safely tackle a mountain trail in the Sierra Nevada without facing life-threatening risks from the heat. Additionally, his phone messages, specifically his request for help in overheating with baby, suggest that he became aware of the danger way too late, which means he probably didn't anticipate the level of danger that they were putting themselves in at the beginning of this hike. And then when it was already too late, he just went into panic mode, realizing how serious things were. So this incident serves as a reminder that proper preparation, including understanding the local climate conditions, it's essential, especially when hiking in unfamiliar and potentially dangerous environments. The death of Ellen Chung, Jonathan Gerrish, and their baby Miju left a profound impact on their community, and it sparked public outpourings of grief. People who knew this family described them as a loving, tight-knit family who were simply trying to enjoy a beautiful day in nature. The shared desire to raise their daughter in a simple and nature-filled life underscores the kind of values that these people had: connection, peace, and love for the natural world. Though there isn't an extensive amount of information available about Miju's personality, the overwhelming sense for those who knew her is that she was a deeply loved child and the center of her parents' world. The fact that she died alongside them in such tragic circumstances only heightened the sense of loss for those who followed the story. Her life, though short, was filled with love and joy, as evidenced by the memories her parents and loved ones cherished. The memory of John Gerrish's life is one of dedication to his family, and a career that allowed him to make meaningful contributions to the tech industry. His death has left a void in his community. Prior to her pregnancy with Miju, Ellen worked as a yoga instructor, which aligns with her connection to nature and her desire to enjoy inner peace. Her friends and family released a statement expressing their sentiments on the matter, saying, "The loss of a close relative is pain almost beyond words. When that loss is multiplied by 4, and one of those losses is a baby, that pain is indescribable." This story is such an immense tragedy for obvious reasons. This might just be my autistic brain trying to solve logic puzzles, but when I look at this case, I feel a sense of peace about the situation and knowing the entire family is resting together in eternity. I mean, nobody wants anything like this to happen. I want to believe that they were at least comforted in their last moments in the knowledge that they were all together. A lot of mixed feelings pass through my mind when I think about this story, and I kind of have a personal connection to these folks because my family is Korean too, and I can just imagine like culturally how this whole thing is affecting Ellen's family. Koreans tend to have certain rituals surrounding death, and I imagine that every year her family will be doing death anniversary tributes for them, which we call 제사. And obviously, when you do these rituals, you're reminded of how the person left this world. And just with the way things happen for this family, it's just so like heartbreaking to imagine how this affects her parents, the surviving family members. I mean, they were such a young couple, and I imagine that their parents are probably still around mourning them. That just makes me so sad. But now I'm just gonna leave you guys with a few questions to think about. Tell us your responses in the comments section. How would you personally handle a situation where you're lost or in an emergency while you're outdoors? Have you ever underestimated the dangers of the outdoors? And what did you learn from that experience? Also, do you have a personal theory on what exactly happened to this family? Was it really a tragic accident? Or do you think the authorities ain't telling us everything? But if so, why would they do that? Like, what would they have to hide? I saw a lot of people on the internet speculating that something don't sound right. There's more to this. This isn't everything. They not telling us something. Like, there were just so many conspiracy theories about what caused our death besides heat exhaustion. And I really don't know why people are saying this, but I'm just very curious. Are you one of those people? What are you basing this on? I'm not a nature person myself. When I was in my teen years, my church convinced me to go on a few like camping, youth retreat excursion type things, and I did not much care for it. The closest thing to hiking or camping that I'm comfortable with is like pitching a tent in my backyard for just a few hours, not all day, and barbecuing on my porch. So for me, the way I would have handled a situation like this was to just not be in it at all. Abstinence. Well, if you made it this far, thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode of Tragic Turns, hosted by me, your girl Gypsy. Remember that this series is to bring light and awareness to strange situations that people might find themselves in, that really any of us could find ourselves in, and to just make us a little bit more conscious of things we should be careful of in our everyday lives. I shall see you again soon. Stay safe, sweeties. Ciao.